Like and subscribe and you'll have amazing luck for the rest of the week. With today's modern forensic and investigative techniques, it's pretty hard for a mystery to remain unsolved.
Got anything?
Not much.
Yet there are some unsolved mysteries throughout history that have stood the test of time, leaving investigators with more questions than answers. Let's start this list off with, what was Jesus really like? How can we really not know what the most famous person in the world was like? Simple, a lack of documentation. The earliest surviving Gospels date to the 2nd century, almost 100 years after Jesus. The lack of surviving texts written during Jesus' time about Jesus leave biblical scholars with a number of questions. When were the Gospels actually written? How many of the amazing stories written in them actually took place? What was Jesus like as a man? As a person? What would Jesus do? Okay, sorry about that last one. However, we do have archaeological research of Nazareth, Jesus' hometown, which divulges more about the environment where he grew up in. More recently, scientists discovered a 1st century house that, centuries after Jesus' time, was thought of and, as a result, venerated as being the house that Jesus grew up in. However, whether it was actually Jesus' house, nobody knows for sure. Although new research will provide more insight, scholars think it's unlikely that they'll ever fully know what Jesus was truly like. Next we have the location of the Holy Grail.
Records show that for 500 years, a cup, thought to be the Holy Grail, was kept in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, Jerusalem.
Probably the most sought-after religious relic, the Holy Grail is said to be the cup that Jesus drank from at his Last Supper with his disciples before his crucifixion. Hundreds and perhaps even thousands have already looked for it, but it's never been found, and honestly, it probably never will be. At first, pretty much no one was interested in finding it. In fact, it wasn't until the Middle Ages that there was much interest in it, after those writing some of the King Arthur stories described the search for the Holy Grail as a quest that King Arthur and his knights took on. There's actually no serious scholarly attempts to find the Holy Grail, though. Granted, it continues to be popular in fiction, being used as a plot device in films like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, where it was used to heal Indiana Jones after he was shot by the Nazis. Next, we have the Oak Island Money Pit. For more than 200 years, stories, legends have been told that Oak Island, located off of Nova Scotia, Canada, held a money pit of buried treasure. Treasure that was supposedly left by the pirate Captain William Kidd. Over that time, dozens of expeditions costing in the millions have traveled to the island in search of the supposed lost treasure, but to no avail. Despite centuries of searching, no treasure has actually been found on Oak Island. Nevertheless, that doesn't stop people from trying to find it. Heck, there was even a History Channel show called The Curse of Oak Island. The show did last for a few seasons and ended without the explorers finding the legendary treasure, of course. Next we come to Cleopatra's tomb.
Egypt, a land of ancient treasures and hidden secrets. Of all its kings and queens, one is still cloaked in mystery: Cleopatra.
Ancient historians say that Cleopatra and her lover, Mark Antony, were buried together in a tomb after their deaths in 30 BC. The writer Plutarch in particular wrote that the tomb was located near a temple of the Egyptian goddess Isis and was a lofty and beautiful monument containing treasures made of gold, silver, emeralds, pearls, ebony, and ivory. However, the tomb and its contents remain lost in history. However, in 2010, Zahi Hawass, Egypt's former antiquities minister, conducted excavations at a site near Alexandria, now called Tapasiris Magna. That site contains a number of tombs dating to the era where Cleopatra ruled Egypt. Many interesting archaeological discoveries were made, however the sought-after tomb of Egypt's long-lost queen was not one of them. Archaeologists have noted that even if Cleopatra's tomb does survive to this day, it may be heavily plundered and unidentifiable. Next we have Jack the Ripper's true identity. In 1888, Jack the Ripper terrorized London by murdering at least 5 women, mutilating their bodies, and just being gruesome in general. A number of letters, supposedly from the Ripper, were sent to the police, taunting officers' efforts to find the Ripper. Whether or not the letters came from the real Ripper is debatable, but the name Jack the Ripper actually came from these letters. This right here is probably the most well-known unsolved serial killer case in the world, and over the years, dozens of people have been brought up as possible candidates. In his book, Jack the Ripper, The Hand of a Woman, which was published in 2012, John Morse proposes that a woman named Lizzie Williams was the Ripper. Other experts highly doubt that. Just because of how long ago the murders actually happened, it appears unlikely that the true identity of the Ripper will ever be known for sure. The next one we have up for you today is King Arthur real? The legend of King Arthur has been told and retold countless times over more than a millennium. Camelot, the Knights of the Round Table, the Wizard Merlin, and the Sword Excalibur are now known worldwide. There are also prominent features of the Arthurian tales. Many people believe that these tales of knights and kings, of quests of the Holy Grail, and heroism and valor are historical fact. However, if King Arthur really did exist, that reality was likely less magical. The earliest surviving accounts date to the 9th century and tell of a leader who fought several battles against the Saxons. This man might be Arthur, or perhaps not. No one can be 100% sure, really. There are a number of places in Britain that legends link to King Arthur, such as Tintagel, a coastal site that was supposedly King Arthur's home, but excavations have not confirmed whether Arthur ever lived there or even existed. Ultimately, it seems doubtful that scholars will ever know for sure whether there was a real King Arthur, or whether the man was purely fictional. Next, we have the Copper Scroll Treasure. In 1952, archaeologists digging in a cave in Qumran unearthed, along with the Dead Sea Scrolls, another scroll made up of copper. The scroll records a vast amount of hidden gold and silver treasure, so much so in fact that some scholars actually say that it's impossible for it to exist. The scroll itself dates back to a time when the Roman Empire controlled the Qumran area, which was more than 1900 years ago. There were a number of rebellions against Roman rule at the time the scroll was written, and scientists think the treasure was hidden to prevent its capture by Roman forces. Whether the treasure is real or not, where exactly it was hidden, whether it was ever found, and whether it could still exist today are all mysteries that likely will never be solved. Then we have the question, what happened to the Ark of the Covenant? In 587 BC, King Nebuchadnezzar, that king on the screen, and his Babylonian army conquered Jerusalem, sacking the city and destroying the first temple. Inside the temple was the fabled Ark of the Covenant, which carried tablets recording the 10 Commandments. What happened to the Ark after the temple was razed to the ground is unclear. Ancient sources indicate that the Ark was either carried back to Babylon or hidden before the city was captured. It's also possible, and also the most agreed upon opinion, that the Ark was destroyed during the city's sacking. Whatever actually happened, the Ark's location is unknown. Since its disappearance, a number of stories and legend about the Ark's fate have been told. One legend states that the Ark eventually made its way to Ethiopia, where it's kept inside a small church today, and it's zealously guarded with only a handful of people tending to it. Another story says the Ark was divinely hidden and will not appear until a new Messiah arrives. Next, we have the fate of Jimmy Hoffa. Hoffa is the Teamster Union leader known for his involvement in organized crime. He disappeared in Oakland County, Michigan on July 30th, 1975, and is now believed to be dead. Who actually abducted and killed him and what they did to his body are mysteries to this day. Police and forensic anthropologists have already searched a number of rumored sites in Detroit and Oakland County, but to no avail. One popular theory was that Hoffa's body was buried beneath the Giants Stadium in New Jersey, reportedly under one of the infields. This theory, however, has since been debunked. On October 2021, a former landfill in New Jersey was surveyed following a deathbed confession by a landfill worker claiming that people had ordered him and his father to put Hoffa's body in a steel barrel and bury him under the dump in 1975. The search was done and no steel barrel was found. As for Hoffa's killer, hitman Richard the Iceman Kuklinski claimed before his death to have killed Hoffa and dumped his body in a scrapyard. A book was even published about this confession, however, police officials still remain doubtful. As the years go by, it appears increasingly unlikely that Hoffa's remains will ever be found. Next, we have the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Ancient historians and writers described a fantastic series of gardens constructed at the ancient city of Babylon, which is modern-day Iraq. Although it isn't clear where exactly these gardens were built, they were impressive enough to be dubbed a wonder of the world. So far, though, archaeologists who have excavated Babylon have been unable to find the remains of a garden that meets and fits the grandiose descriptions. This has left archaeologists to doubt whether the Hanging Gardens did indeed exist. In 2013, Stephanie Daly, a researcher at the University of Oxford, proposed in a book that the gardens were actually located at the Assyrian city of Nineveh. Over the past 2 decades, both Babylon and Nineveh have suffered damage from wars and looting, and it seems unlikely that this mystery will ever be fully solved. Now it's time for the day's best pick. So if you find something interesting online and want to know more about it, just send it on over to us. Who knows, might even feature it in a future video. With that said, the Babushka Lady. On November 22, 1963, President John F. Kennedy was shot in Dallas by Lee Harvey Oswald. On November 24, 1963, before Oswald could stand trial, Oswald was fatally shot by nightclub owner Jack Ruby. Ruby died of lung cancer on January 3, 1967. The The thing is, many believe that Oswald was only a fall guy and that the real shooter is still out there. This is already a mystery in itself, but the answer to it lies within another mystery: the still unknown identity of a witness to a shooting, and possibly even shot footage of the entire thing. Known only as the Babushka lady, so named because of the headscarf she wore, which was similar to scarves worn by elderly Russian women, she was front and center during the assassination. She was holding a camera, so it's believed that she possesses photos, if not video footage, of the entire event. After the shooting, she crossed Elm Street and joined the crowd that went up the grassy knoll. She is last seen in photographs walking east on Elm Street. Neither she nor the film she may have taken have ever been positively identified. Which of these mysteries do you really want to be solved? Let us know in the comments below. Also make sure to like and subscribe, as well as check out the channel's other amazing content. As always, thank you all for watching.